Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Maths Made Easy with Terry in 10 minutes. So we're going to talk about transformation of graphs and how to transform graphs, okay? So quickly, I'm going to give an overview in this video, okay? I'm going to quickly give an overview of what we're going to talk about in this video series. So when we talk about transformation, when we say a transformation, it's basically something that is done to a graph or a function that causes it to change in some way. Okay, so I'm going to write it here. So a transformation okay, is something. So it's anything. It could be a stretch or anything you do to a graph. So something that is done to a graph or a function. So something that is done to a graph or function that causes it to change in some way. Okay, so basically, the topic is just referring to the effect of changing a function on the graph, okay? So you're just talking about if, for instance, I multiply a whole function by minus now, what kind of reflection is that? So what will happen to the graph? And we'll talk about something like that. So basically, in this series, there are things I'm going to talk about. So under transformation, okay, the first thing I'm going to talk about, there'll be some terms that I'm going to introduce you to. So you're going to hear things like translation. So we'll talk about translation. So when we talk about translation, we're talking about either moving to the left, you could move to the left, or you could move to the right, or translation could imply moving up or down, okay? So there are two ways translation, when we talk about translation, what we mean. It's either you're moving the graph to the left or you're moving the graph to the right, okay? The next part is that we're going to talk about stretching. What does it mean to stretch a graph? So we're going to talk about stretching in the y direction, or we're stretching in the along or in the x direction. So we're going to talk about different types of stretching. Then also we're going to talk about reflection. Okay, so we're going to talk about reflection in the y direction about the x-axis, or in the x direction about the y-axis. So I'm going to introduce you to the concept of translation, stretching, and reflection. Now, there's a fourth one called rotation, okay? I'm not going to talk about rotation here, okay? I'm talking about rotation in this video series. I'm going to have another one for this. So rotation, I'm not going to discuss, so it's not going to be discussed. All right? But if you want to know more about rotation, I'm going to upload another video for this. But for this series, I'm going to only talk about translation, stretching, reflection. Is that okay? Now, so after that, I'm going to dive into each of them. So I'm going to talk about, for instance, if we have translation. So what I will do is that for translation, the first thing I'm going to talk about, I'm going to give you a quick overview. Okay, I'll give you a quick overview and the metrics notation. So I'll introduce the metrics notation as well. Then after I'm done explaining, giving a quick overview of what I want to talk about and the metrics notation, the next thing is also I'm going to talk about how do you find new coordinates. So after you translate a particular graph, what will be the new coordinates, okay? What will be the new coordinates? Then after that, we're going to sketch, okay? So please, if you've not looked at my videos, the previous videos on sketching, this is a very good time to pause this video. Just go back and have a look at sketching sketching graphs or graphing. There's a playlist on graphing where we talked about x-intercept, y-intercept, graphing linear graph, graphing quadratic graph, graphing cubic function, graphing rational functions. So we talked about all the types of graphing. So when I'm get to this point, I'm gonna just use I'm gonna assume you know what I'm doing already, and I'm gonna use an app to just let you see the stretching or the translation or the reflection. Okay, so that is that for that. So now when we're done with this, the next part is that I'm going to quickly go to stretching. What do you mean to stretch? How do you stretch it? So the first thing, we're going to have the next one we'll talk about stretch. So the same thing for stretching. I'm going to still do the same principle. I'll quickly give you an overview of stretching. Then also we'll talk about the types of stretching as well. Okay. And so in the overview, I'll talk about the types. I'll talk about types of stretching. I also talk about, one of the things I also talk about here is also how to sketch as well. So how do you sketch the new graph? Then finally, I also talk about reflection. Okay. So similarly to what we do, I'll give you an overview of reflection as well. I'll give you an overview. We're going to play with the types of reflection. And also we're going to sketch as well. And also another thing I'm going to talk about is also finding new coordinates for both of them. So for stretching, I will show you how to find a new coordinate, okay? And also for reflection, I'll also show you how to find new coordinates. All right? So I'm going to show you for both of them. So quickly, we'll talk about introduce the terms. What does translation mean? I'll talk about what does stretching mean, translation and reflection. In some textbook, you will hear things like dilation, compression, stuff like that. I won't use that. I'm going to just stick to the word stretching, okay? But if you have questions about that, dilation and the rest of it, or these terminologies, you can send me an email and I'll get back to you on this. All right, so quickly, we'll go straight to the first one. The next video, I'm going to talk about translation, all right? I'll talk about translation and what to do. So like I always say, if you've not subscribed, please do so that when I upload new videos, you'll be the first person to know. Okay, thank you very much. So I will see you in the next video.